goes up and it goes down. Life goes up and it goes down.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Limerick. The European Ultimate Championships 2023 continues unabated. We now move into the bronze medal matches. It's a game that no one really wants to be in after heartbreak in the morning, but both sides will have to pick themselves off, dust themselves down, and go again, because there is still the bronze medal on the line. A chance to make sure you leave home with some glory intact and in hand. And we have first up for you the mixed bronze medal match with those old rivals of Great Britain and Ireland. Benjamin Rees alongside Christina Obermeier. Christina, it sucks to be here. Not for us, but for the teams. Both sides would have had their ambitions set on the finals.
To be fair, both teams expected to be on this pitch at this hour this morning coming into the beginning of the game, because it was supposed to be the final today at 3 p.m. in the mixed division. So they kind of got what they wanted, but it's like a genie brought that wish, made that wish true for them. And finals have been moved to tomorrow. They are in this game at 3 p.m. here in Limerick, European Ultimate Championships 2023, but not playing for the actual championship, playing for a medal still.
These two sides have met earlier in the tournament in the power pools, a game that Ireland won 15-13. Brought out a couple of schemes that Great Britain hadn't seen to that point, and Great Britain now have to face Ireland with Conor Hogan and Sam Murphy back. Well, I think for Great Britain, they were frustrated from that game, not just because they'd lost, but because they feel like they left a lot of opportunities out there. Generated turns on most of Ireland's points, but just were way too sloppy at punching them in as Melvin goes down the line, and that is bad. Mikhail saw the opportunity to come in there, but he got there late. Clattered Rogers.
That is a lot of contact on Rogers. That put up the line so perfect. Seemed so perfect out of Melvin. And it's called a point. So we see in the landing, Conor McHale just ran through, already braced for the impact, but no idea. Freddie Rogers had no idea.
I mean, good to see that Rogers is okay, and there's a hug afterwards. I think Mikhail knew instantly, because it almost like he was trying to pull out, but just couldn't do so. And the accepted strip, the obvious outcome of that call.
Yeah, he said he was sorry, and I get the frustration from the Irish, but at this point, there's not really anything anyone else can do than say I'm sorry and I'm not going to do it again.
I mean, they are allowed to be frustrated because, yes, it's not intentional, but you do, have to have people's safety as a priority when you play.
Absolutely. It's not an ideal start to the game, let's say it like that, but no harm, hopefully, done on Rogers. It seems okay. We get a replay of that grab. The disc just jumps out of his hands. Maybe just got a little wind there when he went to the ground.
The result is a clean hold for Ireland, which is the way, well, a hold at least was the way they started the last game between these two.
That last game, of course, a power pool matchup. We are in our last game of the tournament now for these teams, and nothing compared to a power pool matchup. This is a do or die moment for them. give everything because it's going to be over after this one.
Yeah, enjoy it and cherish and remember the experience, and experience that will be easier to remember, of course, if you come back with the bronze. Sneaking it through past a bidding McNamara. A shot deep for Taylor, who accelerates for the score. One apiece.
Clinical offense from GB, isolating a player in the middle of the field and then just going for the deep shot. And Taylor, ever so speedy receiver, gets that disc and punches in the first score for GB. We'll get a replay of that again. Set up perfectly. McNamara in pursuit and nearly getting a piece of that, but jumped a little too late. And Dick sets up the deep shot for Taylor.
That's the risk reward of the bid, isn't it? Because obviously if you get it, you've got the disc, you've got the block, and you can pick yourself up, you've got time. But if you go for it and you come up short, then you're out of position, there's no one to apply the force, and Dick can just sit down on this flick, which is inch perfect for his fellow Scot, Ellie Taylor.
Great spacing by GB on this 0 point. We saw them this morning against France, and it wasn't as clinical at times, their offense, I want to say. Their spacing needed a bit of work, but for this game, they're giving it their all there.
I think they were very cognizant of the fact that there are points where everyone kind of clears through and there's not enough support in the backfield, and that's something that they are very keen to avoid. DV to Melvin on the far sideline. Swings back to DV, fakes the around to Corcoran. Anya Gilheany comes underneath, and Gilheany puts it shooting towards the back of the end zone. Melvin beats the poaching Beeching and clean holds on the first 3 points of this game. Ireland lead 2-1.
Again, clinical offense from Ireland. The matchup defense maybe not pushing hard enough to prevent Ireland to getting open, but especially because they're doing it with their legs going up the line, and it might not quite be in their rhythm, the GB defense, seeing as they're letting these passes go. And Gilheany has to just put it out into space, and I think Beeching wasn't even the defender of Melvin, it was someone else, and they switched. So good recognition of Beeching that she maybe was in a bit of a better position. On the other hand, having two defenders on Melvin going into the end zone would have probably been putting more pressure on her.
Ireland 2, GB 1. After the first 3 points, still yet to see any turnovers. There's Sarah Melvin, who has already made her offensive impact felt with an assist and a goal on the first 2 points. So the ball spears into the gut of Briggs and Kime, who we didn't see during that semi-final loss to France. Four male, three female matching players for each side. Dick throws low into the turf. The bid came through from Quan but didn't get there. First mistake comes from Great Britain. Sinead Dunn, who I've been so impressed with this week, looks downfield. There is a stoppage.
Looks like the hand signal for a pick, it's called. So we see that set up through our drone footage. And is it an injury in Dick holding his face? Maybe got a slap in there? Of course, this is all just presuming, because I didn't see anything at all.
Stephen Jones comes off for Ireland to be replaced by Ferdia Rogers, so getting an offensive weapon on. Cam Agnew is the injury sub for GB to help provide a little bit of defensive steel, maybe. Helen Thompson throws into the centre, where Taylor tips and Rogers somehow keeps it up. I'd like to have another look at that one though, because it must have been mighty close. Here's Dunn, working around to McNamara. Just threatens the down the line option. Tries to sneak it through, and the toe drag swag. Balletic at the front of the end zone from Sinead Dunn. Ireland capitalise and they break to take a 3-1 lead in front of a partisan home crowd.
The less passes, the better, is what Dunn probably thought when she towed that disc into the end zone. See a beautiful start, and that arcing blade there from Dunn caught by Rogers. Putting the disc into McNamara, who looks for an option and then finds Dunn, who tries to stay in, gets the score for GB.
Did want to have another look at that pass that was tipped here by Taylor, because this was mighty close to being down. He does look like he gets a hand there to me.
Nice poach off there by Taylor, standing in the lane, knowing exactly where that disc comes out of Dunn's hands and gets a tip of it.
So Rogers making his impact felt after coming on for the injury. And the ball lands out of bounds. And Andy Lewis will bring it to the brick mark. Here's some zone coming out from Ireland. We've got McHale sat in space. He runs a 1-2 with Lewis, who pops over the top to Briggs. McHale short is faked, so he can flip that. Scuba to Wilson, who now gives back to Briggs. McHale grabs over his head. Now Great Britain look to try and orchestrate a change of tempo. Lewis back to Briggs. Well, the male matching players doing the damage in the backfield. Now they go downfield to Quan. Back to McHale. Plenty of space on this near side for Wilson. Ireland sticking with it. Now that space becomes a little bit more compressed and congested. Big blade around there. Ireland staying in their shape. Now Roberts comes to dish forward and just outside the end zone. The simple punch in to Fee Kwan for Great Britain to get back on the board 2-3.
Looked like they were changing something in that last third of the pitch, trying to move that zone and go into matchup defense, or maybe some forcing middle action going on. Not so sure, I couldn't really tell. They weren't matched properly though, and that's how the opening was created for the score there for GB. Interesting call to play that zone for Ireland, since we've seen GB play a very similar zone in that game against France before. Not quite the same. I do think they have some different targets, especially around there, or in the cup around the disc. But yeah, otherwise pretty similar. And it's always tough to play these kinds of defenses against a team that plays a similar one, because you can guess, or you might assume that these teams are very good at playing against defense that their respective the same team is also.
They know how it works. That ball is going to land out of bounds. Rogers is going to go to the brick mark with it. Corcoran is his backfield partner, as they were for Ranelagh this season. In which Ranelagh, of course, grabbed that gold medal at the UCF, hoping for another famous Irish victory over the British here, as it's in and out of Gilheany's hands. Boxall shows and then shelves the shot to Kovshov. Link, back to Boxall. Going around to Smith. Great separation from Brina Healy, and now to Link. Link uncorks it across the end zone. Kovshov was all alone, and Great Britain earned their break back. We're tied again at 3s.
Simple mistake, punished with the worst outcome, a quick break and a red zone turn for GB, and we're all tied up at 3s. It's going to be interesting to see who rides off of that momentum for longer. As we see a replay of that game, Link with that arcing around backhand into the end zone there, and that score just perfection, opening up the break side pass. So yeah, whoever comes out of that first break better will probably make the difference early in that game. All tied up at 3s. Teams seem to play with a different energy than they did this morning, I think. GB is really trying to stay alert and stay active and resilient, as Becky Thompson put it before the game.
Yeah, resilience a key word for Great Britain. For Ireland, it's all about the enjoyment. Yes, it didn't go their way this morning, but get that fun feeling back and enjoy playing with and for one another for one final time this campaign before maybe they retool for Worlds next year out in the Gold Coast in Australia. Gilheany to Melvin. Gilheany gets it back, and they're just kind of taking what's available for them at the moment. Nothing too expressive or outrageous. TV breaks back. Now they're working around towards the other side of the pitch, trying to keep GB on the toes and moving. Rogers just fakes it inside to Corcoran, and now Ireland go backwards to try and generate a bit more space and positive movement. DV just opens it up a little bit to Melvin. So the wind does begin to pick up here, and Melvin sees an outlet in Corcoran on the far side. GB doing a very good job of slowing things down, but Ireland, to their credit, seem happy to play at the slower, more patient tempo, as there was the shot over from Corcoran, and Becky Thompson in that cut got a hand up and got the block. Now Simpson pops to Lewis, who shows the around and goes for the fading flick. Mikhail dives and calls the instant timeout. I thought for sure that that very ambitious option from Lewis was going to hit the turf. Conor Mikhail clearly disagreed with me.
Indeed he did. He gave it his all. That break side flick though, what a beauty. And if you have receivers like Mikhail around, it doesn't necessarily have to be a perfect shot, it just has to be in his vicinity. And you see that pickup, look at that. His fingertips underneath that just before he hits the ground and calls a timeout.
Yeah, so 3 apiece here. Great Britain with the disc, looking to take their first lead of the game. Great Britain 3, Ireland 3. And after almost gravity-defying layout from Mikhail, calling the timeout, Great Britain have a red zone chance to take their first lead of the game.
And I did talk about energy a little bit in the break between, and I think that this is definitely, it's definitely on GB's side now, as we see Mikhail gets covered up. There might be a little bit of blood on that elbow after he went down like this. And of course, players have to have all their wounds taped up or closed to some extent.
So Mikhail brings it in with DV on the mark. There was no force, so they can put who they want there without having to reset the still count, because of course there wasn't a still count. And Mikhail shooting down the sideline. Thompson grabs it for the bookends, and Great Britain on top here for the first time in the bronze medal match. They have taken a 4-3 lead, Christina.
They have, and that was beautiful red zone offense going from one side to the other. For a second, I thought Thompson had maybe slipped or maybe hurt her ankle, but she was just too happy to get that disc in the end zone for the score, and that's 2 breaks in a row for GB. Mikhail gets it again there on that far side and puts out the lefty flick. Just out into space. Melvin trying to get there, but Thompson goes to ground and celebrates the score.
How often this week have we seen teams take the timeout in that situation and fail to punch it in?
So many times. I think this is always a critical moment, right? And I'm not a fan of taking a timeout like that, but maybe Mikhail just needed that breather. And before he would I think it's a good call to wait for a second before not throwing that disc away after a layout like this, and get your post down. And you have those 2 timeouts, and I think we've seen often enough that teams don't use them in that first half, and then this first half goes by so quickly, and none of the teams have actually used a timeout.
So Mikhail just tossing the disc between his hands as he gets ready to pull. And he sends the Euro disc through the air, down towards the Irish end zone. It draws and fades over, and I think just about lands in bounds before skidding away. Corcoran brings it from the line. Now the clouds open and the rain begins to pound, and that is thrown straight to Carla Link. Almost like she was wearing a green jersey. Boxall punches in just shy. Mikhail with the dish to the front. Ruth Taylor. 4 on the spin now from Great Britain. They've gone from being 3-1 down to leading 5-3.
Mikhail with another assist for Great Britain, and that was clinical again in the red zone. That pull out on the side, and that really helped things. Corcoran had to go and maybe try and find a connection somewhere, but only finds Link. And that's another break for GB, 4 in a row.
And it is unsurprising to see that Ireland are very keen to just take the wind, which is, often very strong here. Out of GB sails, just cool that momentum. So Ireland take a timeout here with GB putting on 4 on the spin to take a 5-3 lead.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch,
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe. ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work
work.
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world
And
and
beyond.
beyond.
Yes, he will. The lovely did. 5-3, Great Britain leading Ireland after they surrendered an early break. They've now put in 4 on the spin. And every turnover so far in this game has resulted in a clean break. So D-line offense being so clinical for both sides.
Absolutely nothing else we expected from either Ireland or GB. They've shown ups and downs during this week, especially earlier today, both losing a game and coming off of that loss. It was always going to be a little bit of a surprise who takes it better, and it seems like right now GB, with their energy and their call for resilience, have done the better, have gotten into this game a little bit better, but nothing lost yet. Still over an hour to play in that game.
Little spoiler alert, so if you don't want to know what's happening for the finals tomorrow, so you can watch them back at your leisure on our YouTube channel, then is fingers in for the next 10 seconds or so. Great Britain have sealed a finals place in both the open and women's divisions with victory over Italy. So the fact that, you know, there will probably be a bit of a party mood perhaps among the fellow GB teams, looking to try and keep that good vibe going here in the bronze medal match, while of course there is always a big home support here at the University of Limerick for the Irish. I think Great Britain have to kind of acknowledge the fact that for a lot of the viewers here, they're the bad guys, so to speak. They are the villains of the piece. McNamara begins to wind up and then goes for that offhand that he loves. Trying to trap in Gilheeney. Stretching it through, Melvin to Deavy. Out, oh, it's a floater for Rogers. And he just about gets that before Melvin Teng. And just before the sideline as well. Around to McNamara. Just floating it a tad for Corcoran, and Corcoran punches into Rogers. The two of them just have that connection in chemistry. And Ireland do stop that bleeding. The 4-point run snapped, but they still trail 4-5.
And that was such an important hold for them as well. Taking that time out wisely and trying to get back into the rhythm. They've stopped the bleeding, but they have to go on a tiny run of their own if they want to stay in that game and maybe go even it out at half. So we see the replay of how that point came to be. Corcoran to Rogers. Of course, teammates on Ranelagh, current reigning European champions in open division in the clubs, on the club scene, whereas many of the female matching players on that Ireland team have a gold medal of their own in the women's division at EUC 4 years ago.
Yeah, out in Győr in Hungary, in weather that was just a bit different to this, in the sense that it was kind of pushing or over 30 all week, with scarcely any wind and even scanter shade.
And I can tell you, it would have been the same if we had these championships anywhere else in Europe.
I mean, Southern Europe is almost literally on fire at the moment. Helen Thompson, there's no one even close to the vicinity on either side, but they clear the space well for Roberts underneath. Now Briggs on the sideline. We know he's got a cannon, tries to feather that one in there for Quan, enough pressure applied. Anderson begins to streak deep. Will the theme of D-lines converting on the first opportunity come again? I couldn't even finish saying it before Briggs earns it back. One got away from Brennan there. Quan going low, but still comfortable for Roberts. And now Briggs. Dick on the far sideline. Begins to look infield to find a way off. Oh, the hammer over the top. Briggs catches in front of both Quan and Dunn. And a foul called by Brennan on the mark. Foul was called long, long ago.
It seems like players on the field didn't even see that at all. And that foul right after the hammer catch, I think. So maybe 4 to 5 throws ago, half of the players standing and waiting, the other half playing on as if nothing had happened. There's going to be a bit of a longer discussion between Briggs and Brennan.
Brennan, of course, playing back with his native Ireland after moving a couple of years ago to Vancouver, where he actually represented Canada at the World Games last year, back in Birmingham, Alabama.
Definitely a great addition to that Irish mixed team. Not the tallest person, but can jump very, very high.
So explosive. Briggs pivots for the around to Roberts. Oh, maybe a bit of a miscommunication with Vile. He lays, but the disc tails away from him. Dunn shoots and strikes quickly, looking for Costello, and Costello breaks back for Ireland. We're tied at 5s.
A miscommunication leads to an immediate break by Ireland. That disc put into space, but Vile not quite able to get there in time, and then Ireland taking no time, picking the disc up quickly and moving it, taking advantage of the defenders being out of place still. See that bit of a hesitation from Roberts. Shouldn't have done the pickup and just so free, and Vile's defender there peeling off of him, taking advantage of the fact that he was still down, and maybe a bit angry with himself that that layout didn't connect. And one break back for Ireland. They need another one to even the odds as they started on offense at the beginning of this game, but all tied up at 5s now.
Great Britain, as you say, still with the advantage, but it was so heads up there from Dunn, racing towards the disc, and Costello obviously had the beat on Vile, who was still prostrate on the floor. So the Ireland with the pull. Can they string a run of breaks together like their opponents were able? Still count getting high. Briggs around to Helen Thompson and continuation to Wilson. Just continuing to look around. Great Britain's spacing not quite right as Melvin 10 just lurks deep, hoping maybe to sneak away unnoticed. Keogh is going to be the player tasked with keeping her in check for the moment. Dick, whoa, there was scarcely a window there, and a bit of a toe in allows Wilson to collect. Now here's the hammer, stretching across the field. Great Britain getting a bit more expansive with their options to try and spread past the front line of this Irish defence.
And with that zone, it keeps getting looser and looser, but not really a lot of shots that are prevented for GB. Just nothing up the field, really.
Thompson utilises the inside through to Roberts. Dick wasn't looking at her at the first time of asking, but then does scan around for Roberts to hit. So this zone looks to keep the Brits frustrated. There are options if they can just find the ways to scan, pick them out and hit them. First possession of the point for Ellie Taylor, who finds the soft spot, and Roberts punches through, and now Roberts down the line back to Taylor. Wilson comes from behind for the little dish. Now Briggs looks for the same option, but instead floating all the way over. Dick has Roberts extremely poached and takes that reset. Wilson, again, just GB know how important possession can be in the red zone. Dunn turns around just in time, and see Dick made the call. If you're going to do that, put it higher, because I backed myself in the air, but it was just undercooked and done with an excellent adjustment to get the block. McNamara now with a chance to bring us back on serve. Keogh, you can see the Canisier tape, just keeping those neck and shoulder muscles stretched. O'Shiel Fleming has it bounce out of those gloved hands.
Sinead Dunn doing it again. She did that in some of our streamed games before, just so important for that defense.
Thompson all the way around to Dick. Lovely weave through now from the GB back line, but Ireland again are able to just apply that little spoke in the wheel that slows them down. Great Britain never quite been fully able to break away as Briggs comes all the way through. McNamara bids, not for the first time up against Dick, and that time he catches him.
And that was very close, and I do think he has to take that shot, but getting a piece of his offensive matchup there. But back in the zone. Ireland really keeping GB guessing which options to take and which ones are too risky.
Lovely find down that far sideline. Roberts, though, doesn't have that immediate continuation. So resetting, as you see from the Eurodisc best perspective drone angle. Really shows how these players are spaced around.
Some interesting spacing from GB, I want to say. It's that looks like flow-based offense, really. Not a real structure, more of a hex maybe against that zone. Not really a reset, but spreading out wide.
you see the semblance of it, but the players aren't quite connected enough.
And that's something GB wanted to work on when playing offense during this game now, because they didn't really work 100% against France in that second half especially. So getting a better connection, finding that is one of the goals for GB. On the other hand, this Irish zone setup is preventing the downfield options very well.
Thompson looking for some throw and go. But it's a good option, and when there doesn't get fakes, you want there to be someone coming in to fill that space. McNamara again going for it against Dick, and Dick once again emerges with the disc. Not far out now, GB. And a stoppage.
Collision between two players there.
Roberts just outside the attacking red zone. Kind of the term you tend to use for when you get beyond that brick mark. The option of where those goal-scoring passes become a lot more frequent and space becomes a lot more compressed. Roberts looks for Wilson. They're keeping possession comfortably enough, but they've gone all the way back to halfway now. I just want a bit more urgency.
Yeah, they don't seem stressed, and I think that's important when playing against zone, especially because the conditions are rather easy to play in. No rain anymore, and the wind is rather level. So as long as they can keep those passes, that works, but I wanted to set up.
I feel like that should not have worked, but in the battle of the two Sams, Murphy just can't quite adjust, and Wilson catches. Here's Thompson. You can almost taste the goal here. Going back to Dick. As Roberts to one side, Wilson to the other. Back to Wilson again. There's a huge space in the centre there that no one's keen to take. Beautiful break, squaring up, going to Thompson, faking no, back to Roberts, and then bouncing it back to Thompson, punching it into Dick, and they took their sweet time with it, but Great Britain eventually hold for 6-5.
They did take their sweet time. I don't think I've ever seen a point this chill and this long on offense. Pressure every now and then, but so much composure of that GB offense. You see one of the few passes that weren't as calm and collected.
This was the shakiest of them. The scuba that was not a particularly good throw, and not sure it was a particularly great option either, but Dick may be getting frustrated with the pace of play that GB had made for themselves. There was 33 passes, then they turned it over, and Ireland completed 2 passes, and then GB converted 70 more for the goal, and you see there that Great Britain have made comfortably over 3 times as many passes as their opponents.
This is so impressive, and a bunch of them were in this last possession. Over 100 passes in this last point for GB, not on the same possession, but 70 going with that zone. And I think if you're Ireland, this is exactly what you want. Make them throw so many passes until one of them is too much.
I mean, the possession started at midfield on this near sideline before. So it's not even like they started from the back of their own end zone. Yes, it's impressive that you can constantly reset the disc. You don't feel the rush to score, but there comes a point where it just in terms of percentages, if you're making 190, 95% passes, your chances are worse than making one 80% pass maybe. DV to Keogh. Turns, activates Gilheeney, leads Gilheeney into space, and she's just outside the end zone. And the little dish to Melvin comes through and out of her hand. Thompson picks up quickly. Down the line, the opportunity for the big shot, not quite there. So instead to McHale, he's going to take it on, looking for Kovshov, but it was too zipped, and it bladed too early, and he couldn't chase it down. Rogers picks up as Kovshov dons his hat once more. Gilheeney to Healy. Healy's turn to gun it, looking for Melvin. Melvin's got the speed, and it just popped over at the last second. Again, GB wanting to go quickly off the turn. This time it's Lewis looking for the huck. The target is Agnew, and Agnew has it. Agnew on the high stall with the hammer over the top, looking for Lewis on the far side. Corcoran with the D. He's known so much as that reliable reset option, but I've been so impressed with his defense on the turn this week.
It is impressive, but what is this point after a composed long O point for GB? So many turns and so many risky options taken. Seems like a very different team.
That was maybe the point where you take the timeout in the red zone, when you're not seeing maybe what you like downfield, and the matchups perhaps aren't necessarily in your favor. Ruth Taylor came to step in there. Rogers, a high ground for Corcoran, and Corcoran to Melvin, who this time makes it stick, and it's sixes.
After a long and grindy point, Ireland punch it in. We've seen clean holds on offense and on the defensive, like D-lines turning it over and converting the breaks in just one try. And this now this point now was nothing like it. We see here Melvin jumping high, getting fingertips on that disc, but brushing it away. And then Agnew on the other hand, just in this same space, throwing a hope hammer that is getting D'd, and at the third time, maybe even the fourth, Rogers finds Corcoran to punch it in. Melvin this time, third time of asking. She is in the end zone again and gets the disc for the score.
Third time lucky, third time's the chance. The charm even, as it is now 6 apiece. Wind picking up. Feels like the Limerick weather might be beginning to set in again.
Picking up quite a bit here. And going into our booth.
More of a crosswind than an up-down like we've seen on some of the other pitches this week, with this positioned perpendicular to our other streaming fields.
Of course, what would be up downwind on all the other pitches is a crosswind on this one.
So Josh Briggs wipes the Euro just because he brings it in. And Briggs wants the shot instantly, but you can see what happens in the wind there, and in and out of the hands of Helen Thompson. The wind has picked up dramatically, if you hadn't noticed.
You can see those flags going wild in the back, all the responses, Force and Eurodisc.
And it's not like the wind's been building. The gust just came out of nowhere. And now they're shooting deep for the big man, Boken Carey, who posterizes Andrew Dick. Now Costello into the end zone for Brennan. We're back on serve. It's 7-6.
And that's a break for Ireland. One they needed to make it evens and get that score.
A tale of two deep shots. Briggs fighting against the wind, and you could see how it pushed it up and down. But it was sat out beautifully for the big man, Bogan Carey. Here it is again. Wilson's the target, and it just blows it over him, and it comes at such speed that Thompson just cannot handle. Understandably so, before Bogan rises highest, and Costello just with the backhand, like there is not even a breeze for 7-6. A very different game now.
That changed in a millisecond. And we can see how well these Irish players are adjusting to the different conditions.
You feel like they'd be used to it.
I mean, they probably are. Every one of them started playing in Irish weather, and they can adjust to it a bit easier maybe, but also going, of course this is a crosswind, but there's always one favorable position or one favorable end zone to be in, and it seems like it's the left-hand side one on your screen here. But we are on serve. Ireland to pull and try to close that half out early with a break.
They were 3-1 up. Great Britain took a 5-3 lead with 4 in a row, and Ireland of Earnclose breaks back to bring us back on serve at 7-6. And if the Irish zone was working well when it was relatively still, you can bet like hell it's going to come out again here now that the wind has severely increased. A time to get your strongest throwers on and have them belt their way through. Obviously, with the strong winds, the drone has to come down, so you're not going to quite get that overhead view of the spacing, but I'm sure you understand why.
We still have our pole cam. That is, what is it, 4 meters high in the air? 3 meters?
It's fighting bravely against the wind, however tall it is. McHale around to Thompson. Lewis. And this zone that does just slow Great Britain down is perfect, where the elements are up and down. There are going to be changes. It's going to be more difficult on every throw, and you just play and you bore out the mistake. Lewis. Back to McHale and then back to Lewis. Wants the little dish inside, and again doesn't get it. Maybe a third time of asking. Eventually just gets that inch of space that he needs. Dick underneath, wants it to dish back to McHale. Instead, spreading in. You can see how the wind pushed that throw to Quan up and down. You need to generate as much torque and snap of the wrist as you could possibly muster to cut it through. Taylor, back to Dick. As GB continue to try and stay patient. McHale on the far side. Roberts wants the hammer over the top, and Roberts has it as the throw is inch perfect. Such huevos to throw that in these conditions. Lewis had his heart in his mouth because he thought he was a target for a bit, but it was his GB and Reading teammate Roberts who catches for Galaxy Point, Christina.
All tied up at 7s. That's the stuff we want, especially going for that bronze medal. Both teams fired up and ready to get there. Lewis so happy it wasn't him meant for that hammer, but Roberts. And both teams are gonna take a breather here. Maybe hope for conditions to get it a little better.
I think yeah, as you say, it's more in hope than expectation, but at either rate, it's a good opportunity to try and scheme up something devilish for a Galaxy Point situation.
We are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
(7-7) the current score. Great Britain and Ireland tied at Galaxy Point. The Limerick weather looks to be set in for now, and Ireland will receive and a chance to send us into half on serve.
Of course, 45 minutes left on the game clock, so we are quite on time, if a little bit late. One or the other point was a bit longer from both sides, but we are so ready for this to be.
TV can't stop the ball before it goes out of the sideline. Gilheany brings it in. Punches down to Brina Healy, who's got DV in the centre. The wind just seems to back off a bit, as if it knows that the Irish have possession. How's that for a home field advantage? Melvin Tenmark's up against Anya Gilheany. Just sits it out to space where Healy reaches and Healy connects and Healy shoots out of the sideline.
That disc was meant to arc back in to the grasp of Rogers, but only finds the sideline. Healy can't figure out her mistake here, and that's a turnover in favor of GB.
So Agnew comes underneath and guns it to McHale. McHale looks to uncork the hammer. Down he goes downfield. Melvin Teng catches the boost, and Great Britain break on Galaxy Point, and to compound the woes for Ireland, they'll receive to begin the second half as well, Christina.
One break for two, that's what it feels like a little bit if they can hold. They were just working it down that sideline, and then Conor McHale put up that deep shot with so much zip. You could hear it being released from his hand, arcing perfectly into the hands of the British receiver, and that's half. A break for half for GB, and Conor McHale 4 assists on his tally, going into closing out better that first half.
So 8-7, Great Britain with the advantage here going into the second half. Time for both sides to get that mental reset on. One last half of Ultimate left for these sides here at EUC 2023.
We live in a world where everything can be referenced online. Imagine if the greatest moments in our sport were never filmed. Eurodisc continues to do what it takes to make free-to-watch live streams a reality. Let's leave nothing to the imagination. We'll consume the action live, and we'll support those that help to make it happen. If it wasn't streamed, it didn't happen. Eurodisc.
What a grab! Oh my! Somehow they do it!
half-time here in the mixed division at the European Ultimate Championships 2023. It's the bronze medal match between those old foes, Great Britain and Ireland. And there are your half-time stats, powered by our friends at 4 Sportswear. And you can see how marginal it is. Both sides with the same number of clean holds. Great Britain have 1 fewer turn, 1 more break chance, and they've converted that into 1 more break right on the stroke of half-time.
It's been crazy. It's quite a clean game, although the score line doesn't really, or like the match stats don't really reflect it. It's been a lot of pressure, but clean overall, and I'm really impressed with the show both of these teams are giving us here.
There's a very instructional stat for you, that Great Britain have made nearly 3 times as many passes as Ireland have. The bulk of those came on the when GB scored to make it 6-5, when across 2 possessions they had 103 passes. One of those possessions on its own was 70, which is 7 more than Ireland have completed all game. But the stat that matters is not the number of total passes, of course. It's what you do with them, and Great Britain have used it for that extra goal. But I think it's just illustrative that the Irish are aware of the worsening conditions here and are maybe looking to play that to their advantage.
Definitely, they have. It's just, one could say Ireland were more efficient with the disc maybe, but also GB was more patient with it at times. And these 70 passes, that 1 possession that was so long for GB, it just showed the composure they have on offense at times. Or maybe the 1 step that they have over Ireland, maybe. I'm not quite sure about this. That's why I'm questioning it a little bit, because this game could go any way, and I'm so excited for this second half to start.
So with a break-up going into the second half, Great Britain will receive to begin the second period. Josh Briggs will start it from the brick mark, where there's an unfamiliar figure on the mark because we haven't seen him since their injured hamstring in the opener against Germany. A wild Conor Hogan appears on the field. Great to see Hoagie back out there. Maybe he can be the secret weapon that Ireland need here. Then they're going to put him to work early, operating as the force in that zone. Oh, Mikhail, that was risky, and he was punished for it. The run-through came. This is why Hogan's nice to have on your D-line, because now he can try and get the offense going after the turn. That disc definitely seems warped to me.
Yeah, I think so. That disc going
Hey, be careful, that camera's a lot of money.
Bogan Kerry tried to defend it. Didn't do a very good job at it.
Should have just laid out through Nick.
No.
No, he shouldn't. So Hogan wipes the Euro disc clean with Dick on the mark. Great Britain couldn't get the 2 back, couldn't do anything with the second of the 2 back-to-back possessions. Will Ireland punish them down the line? Past the bidding Agnew. It's a break to start the second half for Ireland. That's 1 that they needed. They still need to find at least 1 more, but that is a good start, breaking to level us at 8 apiece. And what Mikhail was looking at and thinking about with that blade in these conditions, I'd love to know.
I think he just saw an opportunity and went for it, but this is not a game for trying opportunities, as we saw here. Hoagie really making that difference. The hockey assist on his side, opening up the field with a beautiful low backhand. Seems like that hamstring is holding tight, and then put in to Sam Murphy for the score. Another person that has not been here all week.
First was able to get it going yesterday in their quarter-final victory, and although he couldn't quite turned the tide in their favour in their semi-final loss to Italy this morning. Whenever players come back from injuries, it's always so nice to see them out there regardless of who you support, in my opinion. Especially because Sam and Hoagie, two pretty lovely fellas. They're good crack, as I think the Irish say.
They are, as probably most of the Frisbee players in our community are, just great to talk to, and you know that aspect of the game, spirit of the game, is important here. Just it doesn't hurt you to be nice and honest about, you know, calls, and there are different views that are accepted by players and resolved by opponents.
So another pull that goes out of bounds.
Hoagie had a casual catch there, grabbing it with one hand. But of course that possession stays with GB, even though he made a beautiful catch on the sideline.
Roberts immediately charges deep. Tyke Bogan Kerry providing a massive obstacle in that throwing lane. Trying to get him to work on the force instead so they have more space in the centre. Roberts to Taylor, with Claire Gilheany matching up against her. GB's offense just gave themselves a little bit less breathing room with that break. Roberts. Murphy tries to muscle past Brennan. Wilson, excuse me. Wrong Sam. As that one from Roberts across to Lewis. Shooting, trying to continue the Reading chemistry, but he can't find Wilson.
Lewis got a little too excited there. What a grab, snagging with the left hand, turned around and wanted to go end zone immediately, but overshoots there. And that's another turn for Ireland early in the second half. Whatever the coach has said in that halftime circle worked.
Can GB earn their disc back? Yes, they can. Question quickly answered. Briggs. Dick, I think, probably quite keen to keep Bogan Kerry away from the end zone. Taylor has Briggs coming underneath, being bumped and jostled by Brennan. A nice inside shot through to Dick. Bogan Kerry peels off just to stop any further breakside flow, but it is snuck past him. That quick release from Dick, and this time Wilson can collect. GB go back in front once more at 9-8, but this game is still so tight and could easily swing either way.
Andrew Dick moving just a little bit, faking out Bogan Kerry, and he puts up that around backhand into the end zone for the score. See Briggs there, a grab under a lot of pressure. Beautiful inside break. Faking first, letting the mark approach here, and after that fake, puts the backhand in without pivoting at all. So GB get it back and hold, if not a clean hold.
But it is a hold, and that is the most important thing for GB. Mikhail's just having a little chat with Murphy about something, I'm not sure what. But see that spirits are high all around.
Becky Thompson ready to pull.
So with a female matching puller, means that we have a 4 female, 3 male matching player gender ratio.
The Liam Grant pulling rule.
Yeah, Liam Grant was part of the WFDF Players Committee that helped to get that rule introduced. Also one of the driving forces behind the colour blindness rule that you don't hear talked about very often, where teams have to have 2 jerseys that do not cause colour blindness issues. Melvin gets it off the line to Corcoran, who wants the around continuation and does get it to Rogers. The quick changes of direction from the shifty Rogers. Past Kofshoff, who loses his footing. Can Corcoran take advantage? Rogers just leading Gilheeney into space. The wind has dropped, so those strong blustery gales we had seem to be for only a minute or two, as Deavy is nigh on unstoppable in that zone. And as Rogers told us yesterday, it's easy to throw assists when players like Deavy are wide open like that.
I think Gilheeney would agree, putting that disc to Deavy here.
And a timeout called by Great Britain here. Interesting call. I think maybe they want to just have a time to calm down the offense, which has made some miscues in this second half. So an opportunity then to just keep yourselves engaged and active in the game. Current score is tied at 9.
Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
Great Britain 9, Ireland 9 here. Mixed bronze medal match from the European Ultimate Championships 2023. Benji Rees and Christina Obermeyer continuing to guide you through this contest. Great Britain electing to use a timeout after their offense has had some miscues in this second half, Christina.
They haven't been clinical, but as you pointed out before, that timeout, a curious thing to take. But we, of course, can't look into the inner workings of these teams. We can only look at what we can see here on the pitch, which is footage by our drone. Eurodisc best perspective view overhead as both teams come out of that timeout and GB on offense.
Gráinne McCarthy to Paul, a guest on Wednesday night's Limerick Late Night Live, presented with our friends at Eurodisc. Here's Lewis. Just sits one into the backfield for Quan. GB look to change their offense around as Quan goes to Taylor. Wilson slashes across the field and Taylor fires the flick too far.
Thought about that for a second, whether to release it or not. Did in the end, and the receiver didn't expect it anymore, or it was just too zippy. Break opportunity for Ireland here.
Sinead Dunn ripped away by Briggs. Foul called by Brennan. Accepted foul. The violation on the check-in as well. Look cool nonetheless. Anderson goes back to Brennan, who continues the around to the ever impressive Dunn. Claire Gilheany, oh, enough pressure, and the heels of Helen Thompson nearly kicked it back up into MK Anderson's path. Briggs now looking to spray it deep for Lewis, and he sprayed it too quickly or too early.
I don't think he was aware that shot came off, especially on that side of his shoulder, the left, arcing around the left side.
And I'm not sure why Briggs necessarily put it, because I get there was no force, but if you didn't have that eye contact with the receivers, it seems like a strange one to put up.
I agree, that might just not have been the way this should have come off as well.
Yeah, I think if he'd executed it perfectly, it would have been all right. But miscommunications and maybe even the smallest of execution errors are generally not a good combo. Gilheany goes offhand and Dunn snags it in with the trailing edge. Now Jones looking down the sideline, and Costello with the ballet dance on the sideline gives Ireland their second break of the second half. And they are whipping it up, and it is tasting good. 10-9, they are back in front. And, well, that timeout for Great Britain did not seem to work.
Not at all. Definitely not what they wanted this, how they wanted this to work. And you see that grab from Dunn as she puts it into Jones. Sees a very open Costello. And Lewis, who toes it in. Great body control there, and Lewis tripped in pursuit. He's lying there for a little bit, but really nothing could have stopped them from getting that goal there. Costello, I'll highlight that again. That was a beautiful toe drag from him.
It was weird because it wasn't his back foot that he towed in with, really, but the one that was closer to the line, but still worked.
Maybe he just did it for the camera, but we're fine with that. You do that, Costello.
Well, Mark Early, an Irish Ultimate legend, is patrolling the sidelines with his camera. And Hogan with the pull. McHale catches and first passes to Dick. Zone comes back out. Just a shoulder fake, nothing more from Dick, who clutches that into his chest.
What do you reckon, Benji? Another 70 passes?
I doubt it. GB did very well to keep their patience and composure, but that possession did have a couple of dicey moments, and I think they would probably rather to not have to have it take so long. Link distributing out to Dick. As the players downfield for GB, not really finding those spaces that efficiently. There is the soft spot found and exploited. Taylor fakes the down the line, goes back to Roberts, dish forward to Dick. Big pump there from Wilson. The two of them just exchange a few couple of yard passes. Wilson to Agnew. Irish defense again Not going to be tempted or baited out of shape. Wilson into McHale. Link. Shooting to Roberts in space. You could see the wind begin to pop that up. But Roberts rose well. GB just going back and forth at the moment, side to side, and not finding ways to advance it closer towards the end zone. And that suits Ireland just fine.
Again, that zone not putting a lot of pressure. Now pressure on the mark by Hogan. And GB don't have a lot of options either.
I feel like generally they're just holding it for far too long. I'd want to see these moved on earlier stall counts.
A call of some kind. A retracted call. Keep the disc with Connor McHale.
Yeah, normally you see him wear the 88 when he plays for Clapham, but double zeros now with his captain Ague with the double eights on his back. A lot of communication coming from that Irish sideline, trying to keep things loud, keep the confusion as Murphy gets the beat on it. And that's why the constant shuffling around the back worries you, because you make that many passes, you feel like eventually it's gonna tell and the mistake will come.
And that was the daring shot this time, read better by Murphy.
And two of their almost injury additions this week, as that one pops up and it's brought down by Dunn. Hoagie and Murphy have been big in helping to let that defense just smother Great Britain. Match on the turn from the Brits.
Seems like they're forcing into the middle.
Broken around to Agnew. Murphy clears through. Just blades that one. Dunn shoots through the center with the filthy IO flick that is ripped down by McHale. And an injury is called. It's like Roberts has to make her way off the field. Though she was struggling with hamstring issues coming into the week in the warm-up. I wonder if it's that or something else.
So Ireland will have McCarthy as an injury substitution of their own. Captain of that Irish side, of course.
Dick. Wilson comes toward the near side, collects the quick one, and that one is too quick for Dick. Case of Butterfingers and Taylor running through, clips McNamara for the foul.
Congested space there. Murphy picking up quickly and Taylor jumping through.
McNamara breaks around to Hogan. Now Dunn with one that's going to float in front of McNamara, and McNamara beats Agnew in the air. Now Jack Mack goes back. That one got the crowd fired up. McNamara comes all the way round. Defenders orbiting downfield. Trying to sneak it past Agnew, successfully so with the offhand. Dick bids. There's no force on Keogh, and that is a bad move. I'm not sure the disc was there to die for, and out of position. He gives up another Irish break. It's now 3 on the spin, and they've come from 9-8 down to lead 11-9.
The momentum definitely on Ireland's side now, and the way they are playing, they're just a better team in this second half. 3 points in a row for them. 2 of them breaks, of course, and what impressive stuff out of that Irish offense after pushing to be playing that zone. McNamara with that heroic catch. Agnew goes to ground.
You can have a look at it again here from this angle. It floats and sits, and Agnew goes up early, but just the position there from McNamara means that Agnew cannot get close.
And they don't try to punch it in here immediately, but go back, change the angle of attack, and then walk it into the end zone a bit later. They're not afraid to wait for the perfect shot to come up, the perfect opportunity, and Dunn provided it for them.
And the Irish sidelines whipping up the crowd here. As you see the field from the Eurodisc best perspective drone angle.
So many Irish fans here.
Let's get a T sideline! Let's get a T sideline!
As you can imagine. (11-9), the Irish lead, and after getting broken to go into half, it's a 4-1 run for the Irish, with under 15 minutes left before that cap comes on. Now they're crossing all of their D-line players over. Wilson looks to sneak it inside through to Link. Brilliant grab, full extension there from Link. Continues the inside love to McHale. McHale goes back to Lewis, who watches that all the way in. Wilson brings down, now tries to feather the blade in front of Kwon. It was a bit too far, but even then I'm surprised to not even say the layout attempt.
Of course I only saw it from very far away, but it looked like there could have been a bid. To be quite honest, I don't want to call anyone out. Either way, if you have to bid to make a catch, it's not ideal in any way.
It's not the best throw, certainly. Maybe she's just on the wrong line for it.
It would have taken a heroic bid to go there. And Dunn, still on the field, grinding tirelessly for that Irish D-line as they're on offense now.
And it feels a little bit similar to the France semi-final this morning for Great Britain, in that the first half was close and their offense just hasn't been able to get it together since the break. Briggs bids out of position, Costello to Brennan. Brennan, oh what a grab that is, sliding across the grass from Bogan Carey.
Set up perfectly to bid and gets it as well.
So that green jersey is going to get ever greener. Costello on the precipice of another break here. Can they punch in? That's a pick. Everyone will get a chance to get back into position. How well can Ireland hold their nerve?
They've done a pretty good job so far.
They have indeed. Briggs checks in. Dunn looks to go down line. And Dunn beats to the spot. GB look frustrated as Ireland keep the break train rolling. It's now 4 in a row. Great Britain 9, Ireland 12. The bronze medal is rapidly escaping Great Britain and looks like it will be staying here in Limerick as Great Britain call a timeout. And I think they had to at this point.
They absolutely did. It's time for them to get their energy back. They came out firing in that first half, went on a 4-point run, and we could really see the momentum on their side as we get a replay of that impeccable layout by Bogan Carey, and the up the line score for Dunn as well.
That one, you can see there the frustration from Thompson. I'm not sure whether she called for the flash on the mark to come across or what, but clearly upset that there was something miscommunicated there. And Great Britain are rocked right now, down 3, and Ireland need just the 3 to win. It's 12-9. Great Britain 9, Ireland 12. And since they were broken on Galaxy Point, the Irish, whatever adjustments they made at half-time have worked an absolute treat, because they broke Great Britain to begin the second half. Great Britain managed to hold. It wasn't clean, but they did manage it. And then Ireland with a clean hold of their own and 3 breaks on the spin. It has been ruthless. And they've pulled away from Great Britain in a flash, in a scenario that is kind of eerily similar to their loss in the semi-final this morning to France for Great Britain. Not that they will need any reminding of that.
We'll see what changes for them after the timeout.
This Irish zone is strange because it doesn't feel like it's aggressively forcing the turns, but Great Britain just cannot get their tempo, their spacing, their energy right with it.
They're just right behind the receivers. They make everything a little bit harder for them, make GB guess. And they're guessing, and the littlest, tiniest bit of hope and luck they needed was diminished by Irish defenders.
Just sneaks that one past McNamara. Agnew to Dick. Again, Great Britain just struggling a little bit to connect everything up somehow. Offensively, even when they were in the lead, there was something a bit disjointed about them. They talked about how they felt like they had enough opportunities in the first power pool meeting between these two sides to have won that game, and they've had their opportunities here as well.
Indeed.
But they've made some strange errors, be that on execution or in decision making.
I think it's actually a combination of the two. Maybe also the handler space not quite connecting with the players in the back, in the downfield areas. So rather than attacking on different spaces of the field, they're moving backwards, only trusting the handlers and the short passes.
Roberts gets the disc, and then there's no one near her. There's that lack of synergy and symbiosis that you were talking about. Dick going all the way across the field. Agnew just has a look to see how close to the sideline he is and knows that he's got plenty of space and time. Now the two Scots throw between each other and get another one from north of the border. Boxall involved. Through to Quan. Quan now's got the leading pass to Helen Thompson. This is better as they squeeze it past the bidding McNamara into the end zone. Finally, GB stopped the run for 12-10, but they are leaving it awful late with less than 5 minutes on the clock.
McNamara got a piece of that. He jumped at the right time, bubbled the disc just the tiniest bit, and comes up empty. Regardless, good zone defense again for the Irish, and they're in such a commanding lead. You just mentioned the time running out for GB.
That one a 38 pass possession, as you see that McNamara just couldn't quite get enough. And we looked at it earlier in the first half, and we're going to have another look at it now. That pass count from both sides, there is a real disparity. There's a look at Ellie Taylor, who caught that goal, her second of the game.
3 minutes remaining, and we see the total passes. This is insane. It's nearly 3 times as many passes on the GB side as passes for Ireland, although Ireland are up by 3 points.
Yeah, it's not about how many passes you make, it's about what you're doing with them. And so much of what GB are doing against that Irish zone is, it feels like they let Ireland dictate the pace and what GB are doing, rather than being commanding and making the Irish zone adapt to them. Simpson bids but can't get there before Deavy. Deavy airs it out. It's going to require a chase down for Brina Healy, and Brina Healy has position and brings it in for Ireland. 13-10, continuing that 3-point lead.
And if you look at these 0 points for Ireland, you can see why there's not too many passes on that scoreboard. Was that 3?
4.
4. Just putting throwers into the right position to put a disc up in the air and have the legs to get it down.
That's the thing. Sorry, go ahead.
To Deavy, and Deavy, usually on the receiving end of it, puts one out there showing that he can do it on both sides of the disc, throw as well as get scores.
I was going to say, you don't need to make 38 passes when you can just score in 4. I mean, I think for pretty much the overwhelming majority of teams, the ideal possession is pick it up, throw it to the end zone, and get off the field again.
I mean, that's clean offense, isn't it?
But Ireland have just prevented GB from doing that by continually slowing them down.
You're absolutely right. They are making them guess all the way. They're not. They've lost the sense of security and maybe comfort.
Great Britain are fully on the ropes, and the referee is counting them out. Is there one last knockout blow for Ireland? And Great Britain, it's the first time, of course, that they're not winning gold in the mixed division at AUC, and they might not even win a medal at all if Ireland can keep this up. And that would be such a heartbreak and disappointment for them. For a team that would have backed themselves to go all the way. Dick initiates toward the far side. Back to Briggs. He's got Wilson, who continues to Helen Thompson. Looking around just under the foot of Sinead Dunn. And that one offline from Kwon. Brennan runs through. Dunn wants the quick pickup. Has got it. Brennan recognises, pushes Wilson away, then comes underneath. There's no force for the meantime on Brennan. Brennan to Dunn. Cap on. Dunn continuing the break around. Good spacing about the offense. Bogan Carey on the sideline. It's Callahan, excuse me. First time we've seen Lauren and Callahan all day. And Steege with the score. Stephen Jones makes it 14-10 in Ireland's favour. And they are 1 goal away from the bronze medal.
Just as the game clock expired, Ireland have brought it within 1 of getting the bronze medal. Just current score 14-10. GB looking down.
And it makes sense because it's tough, but you've got to find a way to somehow pick the head up. We've seen comebacks before. Yes, it's tough, but Ireland still have to punch that final point in to win. And as soon as those heads drop, you've done half the battle for them. Callahan's had some niggles he's battled this week. I think the first time we've seen him all game. And it's the expansive shot to Steege. And Stephen Jones has brought Ireland within 1 of knocking off the old enemy and bringing back, I say bringing home the bronze. Doesn't even need to because they are right here on the Emerald Isle anyway.
And with their fans to support them. And they're calling for Hoagie. Connor Hogan on the pitch.
And he's going to pull here.
He is a heartbreak for him at the beginning of the week. Opening game live when he tore a hamstring or had a hamstring injury. He's on the pitch, pulling for maybe the last point of that bronze medal game. Or can GB get it back?
I mean, if they could, it would be a miraculous comeback. As Lewis looks to steal a march to the brick mark. Dick goes back to Thompson. And Ireland, as they have done all day, have slowed Great Britain down with zone. A tactic that, I'll be honest, I'm surprised we haven't seen the Brits pull out more. Because generally it's been match from them, and Ireland have won those matchups. In their own end zone. Just trying to generate a bit more dynamism. It's not there. McNamara. Oh, it's not McNamara. It's Murphy who's on. And he picks up the foul. Just looking to sneak that one into McHale. But Murphy was there. A yard away from bronze. And they're going to do it the old-fashioned way. Inkenhag breaks to Murphy. It's bronze for Ireland.
What a finish, and that was quick. Maybe a bit quicker than either team had expected, but clinical and clear. What Ireland showed us today was just, they were just a better team.
It was a close first half. Great Britain were up 8-7, and it was an 8-2 run after the interval. I mean, whatever happened to Great Britain, it was the same thing as the France game. It was close for a half, and then down the stretch, the pressure was on. They couldn't uncrack the Irish defence, and the team in green are exceptionally worthy winners here.
Absolutely. It was just such a good performance all week, and now closing it out with such a dominant performance over GB, and we're going to have an interview. My personal highlight player of this game, Sinead Dunn.
Yeah, we're going to have a replay just very quickly of the final score. Temptation must have been there to throw it to the end zone, but instead goes to Inkenhaag, who gets the no pivot out there to Murphy for that final score, and Ireland rushed the field with that bronze medal in the grasp. And you can see it again from another angle, a sight that, Sinead, I'm sure will never get old.
No. So exciting to see Smurf back on the pitch and then to score the final point. It's just brilliant.
How you feeling?
Tired.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A little bit tired. Much happier than I was earlier, and delighted to finish with that win.
Obviously, it was a tough first half for you, especially getting broken to go into the interval. But 8-2, when you came back in from that point forward, what did the coaches say at half-time? What powered that comeback?
I think we've been trying to focus on finding what brings us joy and playing with joy, and remembering that we're here because we chose to be here, so we have to enjoy every moment and take advantage of the last half we have together as a team.
On a personal note, you've been, well, at least I've been very impressed with your performances this week. Another strong game today for you with 3 goals, an assist and a block. Are you personally pleased with the way you've played, even though obviously bronze probably not quite the medal you'd wanted? Yeah, I suppose always want to try to stay lifting, so hopefully we'll stay improving, but I'm very happy with the tournament. What's the plan going forward for Ireland? Obviously, I imagine there'll be a fair few pints consumed tonight, but is it kind of keeping the core of the team together for Worlds next year, or is that a question for a future date?
I think that's a question for a future date, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I feel like there are I mean, I know the party is going to be on in Limerick tonight, and I'm sure that pretty much everyone will be out there from Ireland. Playing a bronze medal game is tricky, of course, because you have to fight back from the heartbreak this morning. How do you kind of ride the emotional highs and lows of a week-long tournament like this?
Oh, that's a great question. Probably just feeling the emotions when they come up, and unless it's during a game, I suppose that's the only time to bottle. But after that, we make an effort to just feel what we're feeling, or even in between points, let it out, so then it's actually gone when it comes to play the next match, or the next point.
As you can hear, there is a rapturous home support that I'll let you enjoy in a second. What's it like to be playing in front of such a vociferous home crowd?
It's brilliant. I'm sure it probably drove part of that win, so it's fantastic and very appreciated. But yeah, try to ignore it when on pitch, but it's very nice now. Yeah,
shut it out during the game, and then now you can go, and literally now you can go and lap up all the applause. Thanks, Sinead, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Do appreciate it. Lovely to speak there too. Sinead Dunn has been a standout performance for this Irish mixed side all week. A 15-10 victory in the end here for Ireland. And I think what Sinead said there was kind of very insightful, in the fact that at halftime the coaches said, just enjoy it, like take the pressure off yourselves a little bit. We're here, yes, obviously to win, but also we're here to have fun. We enjoy playing with each other. The home crowd behind you, just make the most of it. And how did they make the most of it?
Indeed, that second half looked convincingly like they had fun out there. We got match stats for you one last time here for this game. 15-10 the final score in favour of Ireland. A convincing 9 breaks over 4 and 11 turns compared to the 16 that Britain gave. 5 clean holds for Ireland. Not the biggest amount, but at least one more than what Great Britain had. And this is also due to the fact that Ireland's O-line wasn't on that field that much.
No, 9 for 14 on break chances as well. Over 50%. That is very efficient and proficient. And thanks again to Force Sportswear for powering our match stats this week. Mixed division then nearly wrapped up. One more game, of course, That is the mixed final, which takes place tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock local time. France and Italy will duke it out to see who can come home with the gold. But the main story here and now in the mixed division, Ireland have won the bronze medal at EUC 2023.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.